In the reclamation of our spaces and places, we honour those who lost their lives in battles and those who fought so hard to survive. Takapūneke and Onawe are two bastions that represented trade and advanced battle strategy, but they also became memorials of bloody feuds and wrongdoings. This is Takapūneke. It lies between Ōnuku and the Akaroa township. Takapūneke was one of many Māori settlements located throughout the Akaroa harbour. Trade flourished here at Takapūneke due to the deep waters of the harbour, shelter close to the shore, and a supply of fresh produce.
In those days, Takapūneke was a major little village where our old Ariki chief, Te Mai Haranui, and his family lived. There was a huge movement to trade with the traders that were sailing in and out of the harbour. And of course, flax became a major resource financially. And Te Mai Haranui set himself up at Takapūneke. He had a large group of our people work for him. And he used to travel with all his crew, cut flax, native timber. So in those days, trading was the source of finance for our people.
My dad's father was Tapu Hoki Wairua Tainui and was known as Bill or Wiramu. He'd come from the coast. He met my tawa, who was Mere Bunker, up the road here, and 12 months later they were married. It's Tawa's family that were brought up here from, they go back to Wikarawiko, which is the name of our meeting house. He was the chief here at Ōnuku, and he was also at Onawe when Te Rauparaha came down.
This is Onawe. Surrounded by the sea at high tide, lies with once fortified pā. Onawe sits between Barry's Bay and Devotials. It divides the upper end of the harbour into two smaller bays. Onawe had 3 defence areas, a ditch around the pā, mounted banks, and it was fully palisaded. The rua and knowledge of the whata are indicators that Onawe was successfully provisioned.
Onawe was a tapu place for our people. The pā side itself was an area where our people used to live. The area was used as an observation post because you'd have sentries that could see right down the harbour. And if any big waka were coming in, Onawe was the place where our people would view that. And then the message would go, whether it was by smoke signals or whatever.
Everything was done with the fires on the hill across here at Tikau, at Wainui. It was the height of the fires what told what was happening over there, and we would like the same thing up here. If there was a death in the family, the fire would be lit at the top of the hill.
Tēnei poriki o nawe whakariri ngā kau, titira mai o matakia. E noho taurere nei, huna rawa te konohi kei pihau tangohia. Ka mate au ki taku tangata.
Once at Kaiapoi Pā, Te Mai Haranui engaged in trade discussions with leading Ngāti Toa Ariki, Te Pehe. Te Pehe and other leading Ngaitahu chiefs met inside the Kaiapoi Pā. Te Rauparaha remained outside the pā until negotiations were complete. With word from an earlier messenger on the sacking of Ngāti Kuri in Kaikoura, Ngaitahu chiefs considered their commitment to Ngāti Toa as dishonourable. Strategically situating chiefs to strengthen their military position by inviting Te Pehe inside the pā into their territory. Te Pehe and his companions were killed by Ngaitahu. Te Rauparaha had escaped death, to return to Kapiti with a greater incentive to return and attack Ngāi Tahu and avenge Te Pehe. In the year 1830, Captain John Stewart agreed to smuggle Te Rauparaha and his taua aboard his 140-ton brig into the shore of Akaroa Harbour at Takapūneke for the price of a cargo of flax.
When Te Rauparaha arrived down here, he'd hired a small merchant ship and brought his warriors down, hidden in the hull. And of course our people didn't know they were there. And he enticed Te Mai Haranui onto the ship and they captured him.
When Te Rauparaha came down, Karaweko, he was a 12-year-old boy, and he put a spear through one of Te Rauparaha's nephews, through his face, and they were going to kill him there and then. But Te Rauparaha come up and says, no, you keep him, he's a warrior. So they took Karaweko back up north with his brothers. There was, 50-odd warriors were taken back. The rest were all killed. There were about 400 killed on Onawe, 300 to 400 people.
With good leaders and a fortified power was not enough to hold up against the might of the musket. Those remaining survivors retreated to the Ōnuku settlement.
And of course Takapūneke was like a rurupa, and our people avoided places like that. And that's how the councils were able to do what they did.
The Crown eventually claimed Takapūneke, and at the height of disgrace and ignorance, it became the Akaroa town's wastewater treatment plant in 1960. The treatment plant has been closed multiple times, not due to the insisting calls from mana whenua, but by the need to upgrade and redevelop. In May 2002, Takapūneke was recognised as a wahitapu in recognition of its cultural, spiritual and historical significance to tangata whenua by Heritage New Zealand Pouhere Taonga. In 2006, the Banks Peninsula District Council, Ōnuku and the Christchurch City Council sought National Reserve status for Takapūneke. In December 2012, the Christchurch City Council adopted the Takapūneke Conservation Report that assisted to guide the development of the Takapūneke Reserve Management Plan to protect Takapūneke as a reserve. In 2018, the Christchurch City Council formally recognised Takapūneke as a national reserve. Ōnuku Runanga co-govern the management plan to ensure the historical, cultural, social and spiritual connection to the land and future development of this reserve are honoured. Future plans for Takapūneke revolve around bringing the people back onto the land and surrounding areas, educating all people about the significance of this historic site. Future plans for Onawe include mana whenua involvement in all decision making, walkways to be created around Onawe and the history to be told. Now, Takapūneke and Onawe sites are places of reflection and pictorial landscapes. It is a popular place for tourists and locals to meander along the walkway, many oblivious to its fraught history. Evidence exists of its recent past, with buildings still present at Takapūneke and the contours on the face of Onawe illustrating its past life. We cannot change what happened in the past, but we can speak and tell its story and replenish those sites with the wairua of the hapu in honour of our whakapapa.